also spoke about the K-shaped recovery. Now, I want to ask you, I mean, if you were sitting in the finance minister chair, there are two ways to look at it. One is to look at what is going on with corporate earnings, corporate growth, because the organized sector is clearly gaining at the expense of the unorganized sector. The formal economy, in your words, is growing at the expense of the informal economy, partly by design, it seems. But is that an acceptable trade-off in a country like India in your eyes? Or in the finance minister's chair, you would worry more about what's happening with the micro and small medium enterprises, what's happening with the informal end of it? Because in sheer numbers, that's a very, very large number of people. What can you do to alleviate that problem?
Yes, so it's part of it maybe by design, but in that case, the design is wrong. And this needs to be understood because it is true, it's good to have the organized sector growing. And India is doing somewhat better in the organized sector. But it is not the case that the unorganized sector labor is being absorbed here. This is a relatively capital intensive sector, the organized sector. And all the data that we are getting on unemployment situation indicates that this sector is not being absorbed. The organized sector is growing, but the unorganized sector is not being absorbed here. It's being left to mind its own business. And if you look at unemployment, really, this is something that I want to stress because I do want the people who are taking decisions now to begin to pay attention to this. India's youth unemployment is 24%. Just to give you a sense of comparison, for Bangladesh, it is 12%. For Malaysia, it is 11%. India, 24%. This is not where India was meant to be. India has always done worse than other countries in terms of youth unemployment. I don't want to exaggerate that, but it's steadily worsened and now at 24%. If you look at overall unemployment, latest government data is 7.9%. It had to be higher. All over the world, unemployment has risen. But 7.9%, Bangladesh, after the rise, is at 5.6%. So our workers are not being absorbed, and this is a matter of concern, and it's the infrastructure investment which can employ them. Let me give you one which is, people will make it out to be a political topic, but it's not a political topic. The kinds of things that we should do. Investment to absorb labor is important, but right now, since there is inflation, the investment ought to be in productive investment. One which does jar me, I have to say, the Central Vista project in the middle of this situation. And I'm not talking about whether it is worthwhile or not, that's another debate. And a project like this, if the economy is in a buoyant state, you want to do it. But right now, when there is so much suffering among the working classes, this project, I think, is wrong. It's about $2 billion over 4 years. This money could have been spent on other things. And over here, it will be pointed out that it's creating employment. And it is true. There are estimates that something like 10,000 people are being employed. But see, this is why economics is fascinating and difficult. It intertwines with Keynesian policy. Keynes would say that during a depression, just create jobs, do anything. And to that extent, this may look fine. You're creating jobs. But this is not the usual Keynesian depression. This is a recession coming with inflation. So if you employ people and give them money but not produce worthwhile goods, then it's going to fuel inflation. So for that reason, the expenditure right now ought to be entirely focused. I would say for Nirmala Sitharaman, right now the aim should be focus it all on productive investment, where more output comes out, because otherwise, if you just create jobs and have unproductive investment, you're going to fuel the inflation, which is already high. So it is a policy to counter the recession, but not a Keynesian recession where there is deflation. We currently have a recession with inflation, and that leads to subtle differences in policy making, which Government of India has enough expertise for people to work this out and take this forward.